Welcome back to the Focus Podcast. Today we have Ahmed Khalaf on the show from POMOROI. Hope I'm saying that correctly.
Yes.
Hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Every interaction we've had has been awesome.
Yeah.
So from the first time that we met, kind of cold called you up and was like, "Hey, do you ever need help with videos?" And you're like, "Occasionally." Do you need help with marketing? So um, I love our synergy, and I wanted to have you on because we've had some really good conversations before, marketing, branding, etc. Most of our clients here that listen, they either have businesses or they're in their marketing department.
Right.
So I definitely want to have you on because I know you have a wealth of knowledge. Right off the bat, man, marketing's always changing. So with the marketing landscape, how has that changed in probably the past year or so? And what should businesses be doing differently now as opposed to last year so they can stay competitive?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think marketing, there's a lot of change in marketing, right? Whether it's, ads, organic and content. But I think marketing is shifting from the volume game to the value game,
Mm.
right? So how do you build your brand? What are you offering to your clients or customers, right? How is your messaging, right? Is your communication, do you have the right communication to target that audience and get them engaged? Because our attention span obviously is slimming down by the day. So you want to make sure that you have created content specifically for your audience, but make it more natural and on brand versus I'm just going to put out a bunch of content out there and just hoping to see some stick.
No, I'm glad you brought that up with the volume versus the value because we, as the collective we creators, can get caught up in your influencers out there, be it Alex Hermosi,
Yep.
Ryan Pineda,
Yep.
and they're pumping out all this
All
content,
the time.
but it's all quality too because
Right.
they have an in-house team
Right.
that's doing all these things.
Right.
And so when collective we try to duplicate that, it's not going to land well because it's just you're just pumping out a bunch of stuff with no plan.
Right.
There's just no plan
Right.
behind it. So talk to us a little bit about the strategy you guys kind of help people with when it comes to honing in that message.
Yeah. It's a really good point that you made out because a lot of people are trying to copy, right, what others are doing that are successful, but they only see the snippets of the 30, 15-second, 60-second videos. They don't see all the work that goes behind the strategy, the teams, the scripting, the writing, the ideation to the basically the execution and the plan, right? And if you don't have the resources and the teams to be able to do that, you're not going to be able to put out that quality of content. You're just going to put out a bunch of content, right? So you want to think about what's important to me. Why am I doing it? What's the purpose? Who's my audience? And sometimes less is more, right? You don't want to just post once a day or 3 times a day on LinkedIn just because that's what the gurus are saying you should be doing, right? You might have to just do once a week, but it's a good, thoughtful piece of content that's going to engage with your audience and it's going to add value to your audience. If you're not adding value, then you're just putting out a bunch of noise, which is going to hurt your brand.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. Twofold. Number one, because I struggle with the thought of should I be posting more on LinkedIn, but I have the mindset of if I don't have something of value, like you're saying, to say or something important to say, then I might as well just keep my head in the work and
Right.
not just post just to post.
Right.
And what I do find though is the people that I follow sometimes, I'll see them again and I'm almost numb to their content because they
Exactly.
post so much. I'm like, I don't need to hear anything else that they're saying. There
Right.
they are.
You were engaged in the first few interactions, you love the content, and then out of nowhere, you're just seeing it take over your feed,
Right.
which is, you become numb and you can just scroll past it.
Yeah, and think about those people in your life too that, they may not have much to say, but every time they say something, you kind of lean in like, oh, this
Exactly.
is going to be important.
Right.
So I love the value prop there. It's 2025. I cannot have a marketing person on in 2025 and not talk about AI. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
How are you guys at Pomeroy, excuse me, embracing AI and
Yeah.
using that?
Yeah. Um, Pretty hot topic, right? I think of AI as cryptocurrency, right? It
Yeah.
just came out of nowhere, right? Created a huge huge buzz and everybody's talking about it. Um, the fact of the matter is AI has been around for a long time. Machine learning has been around for a long time. AI has been working in the backgrounds on Google search, on meta algorithm changes and targeting capabilities, right? But now it's basically in the hand of the consumer. You and I can just go in there and use it to build content, right? We use it as a like an assistant or like a sidekick, right? So give me the first draft of this idea, but then edit really hard, right? Go in and edit to make sure that it stays on your brand. It has your tone of voice. It's speaking to your audience, and there's an intentional piece behind what you're utilizing it for. Versus, give me a blog post about, you know, video production. Then you take that, copy and paste it. You're not really doing anything. You just, you know, clogging up the system with just information that isn't going to really help you
Right.
either stand out or speak to your audience, right?
Yeah.
You're not creating your path, you're just putting out information.
I think it's so important because, like you said, a lot of people are abusing it, and I understand why they are. But at the end of the day, where a company like yours has so much value is finding that messaging and finding that brand voice,
Right.
and you're able to just turn projects around faster,
Right.
but
Exactly.
you're not just giving them, cookie cutter content.
Right.
And that just drives me bananas. And even in the video space, you can do some pretty cool stuff with AI,
Right.
but does it embrace your brand, your people, all those things? So it can definitely help you be more efficient,
Exactly.
but we definitely don't want people out there abusing,
Exactly.
AI.
It helps you save time, it helps you produce more, but you still have to have a strategist behind the scene to build out the plan, right? If you're going to do a video production, what is the plan? What type of video are we putting out there? Who is the audience? What is it for? Same as content, text, copy. If you don't have a strategist behind the scene that's actually directing, right, the concept, you're just putting out just a bunch of information,
Exactly.
right? And it's not going to help you,
Right.
right? And it's funny because you can kind of see it in people's posts and and even just videos or images, like you can see it in there, right?
Yeah.
You still have to make it, humanize it and edit it to make sure that it's not using Delve so many times, right? Because that's ChatGPT when it first came out. Delve was I've never even used it,
Right.
right? But you were seeing it everywhere. Just the term itself, it can point out, hey, I'm using ChatGPT, and the
Yeah.
search engines and platforms, they're aware of it. So they flag these things as just AI content without
Right.
humanization and
And
and, and
that's
tech.
why I think the human element is going to be so important going forward. Not that it wasn't before, but it's going to stand out so much more
Exactly.
for exactly what you're saying, with how much it does stand out when you see something that's AI generated. And something that I'm seeing a lot more of is AI generated comments.
Yep.
And I'm just like, what is happening? Like, why
Yep.
can't you just comment like a
Yep.
normal person? And at first, you're like, wow, they really went into depth on this. And then
Yep.
you start looking at, oh, they're just
You
using
got the long
keywords.
dash, you got Dove, you got a few other words, you got an
Yes.
emoji, right? So it's
Yeah.
yeah,
So it will
it stands
take
out.
the human touch. So I think that's, to me, that's a huge mistake that companies are making, is using AI for just their content, but not using it to just start it out and then kind of carve it almost like a sculpture, so to speak.
Right.
What's the biggest mistake that you're seeing small to mid-sized businesses make, and what can they do to fix it, like in their marketing?
In marketing. I think jumping on trends is probably one of the biggest mistakes that you see business owners do or want, right? So I want to be on TikTok just because TikTok is popular. I'll, using ChatGPT just to do everything for them, or push out content and information, um, or just want tools that are just hot and popular, right? Within their their niche or their circles, right? They need to stop and ask, what am I trying to do, right? What's my objective? Who's my audience, right?
Right.
Then build out a plan to be in front of that audience, and then produce content based on a platform to talk to that audience, right? That's, I think, one of the biggest mistakes. I think the second mistake is trying to do everything yourself.
Mm,
We've seen in your business, a lot of companies are trying to do their own video production, and you can kind of see the quality, right? Um, and sometimes it's not even the cost that's the issue. If they know what the cost is, it could be more cheaper for them to actually hire someone like you or me to come in and build out a plan and manage it for them. Um, they just don't give time to people like us to have that conversation, or they just um, make decisions based on what's new and hot right now.
I'm so glad you brought up the trends because it can be so tempting to jump on that, but you have to ask yourself, does this align? And that's why I think it's so important to go back to your original comments about just your brand, your messaging, because does it align with who we are?
Right,
Because if you're a serious doc or attorney, maybe you don't need to be doing TikTok
right,
dances. You know
right.
what I mean? And
Yeah,
so, but people will try to get clicks and views, but clicks and views don't pay the bills.
right,
You have to have conversions, and
right.
conversions align with that. The and then on the second one, yeah, the DIY, you have to be able um, to trust someone else to do it better. I know, I was in that boat. I was trying to do everything myself from a video standpoint, and then once I started bringing in people that were better than me, it's almost like that Steve Jobs line: "Bring in people better than you, and just get out of their way."
Right.
I could probably try to put together my own podcast, but I'd much rather use, Austin at Purposeful, right, to just do everything crispy clean and do it for you.
Right.
So speaking of the services that you can do for people, I know that you all are a full service marketing agency. What does that mean to the marketing director that's out there? What services do you guys provide?
Um, I would say we look at ourselves as a resource for CMOs, marketing managers, business owners, or CEOs. Right. Our goal is to build out try to build out a strategy based on objectives and desired outcomes versus I want to build websites or sell SEO or do media buys. And when we speak to the decision makers or the CMOs or marketing managers, we try to understand what's working and what's not working because we don't need to replace something that's working,
Right.
right? But we want to be able to replace what's not working, or we want to add pieces to the puzzle to help, right? Have that holistic approach that is aligning with their objectives, right? So we want to be looked at as a resource. And what I think we do a little different is that I think of Pomeroy as like a general manager of an NFL team,
Yeah.
right? We go out and find the best players in their position, right? So we have the best teams for PR, we have the best teams for media buys, we have the best teams for Google Ads or social media or content or video, right? And we bring them together to basically fulfill the strategy that we put together for the business,
No, I love
right?
that. And I love that you guys will go out and source the best of the best, for that project and the strategy build out. And one thing you touched on that I love and why I trust you so much and why I know your clients do is you'll tell them this is working, don't change this.
Right,
There's a lot of companies out there that'll go, "Oh, we got to scrap everything
right,
and just go with our cookie cutter plan,
right,
for this." So I
right.
love that approach of like, "No, don't touch that if it's working." In fact, I just talked about this yesterday with a client because I always want to know, why are you even needing us to do the video, because I'm looking at what you had before and it's really good, and
Right,
sometimes you're like, oh yeah, it was good, but they moved states or
right,
whatever. I want to understand,
right.
so I'm not just saying no, this is terrible, because I'm never going to do that. So I
100%.
love that approach.
Yeah.
What about your just ideal client out there? I know you're industry agnostic, but kind of what would be an ideal client fit for you guys?
I think we like to work with businesses that have experience, right?
Yeah.
Or look at marketing as an investment, right? We try to work it backwards in terms of ROI, objectives, right? Desired outcomes versus I just want to do SEO. I want to do TikTok videos, right? So we work with all type of different industries. We work with some e-commerce brands that are international, some e-com startups. We work with some fintech startups and robotic and AI startups as well. We work with some non-for-profits and some B2B and B2C, from your contractors, solar companies to machining and manufacturers that are business to business. and we've done really well for a lot of these industries. And I think the reason why we do well is we focus on the audience
Yeah.
and the strategy for that audience. Where's your audience, and how can we target that audience, and what platforms where your audience is, and then building out that strategy based on your objectives, starting from the intent to awareness and consideration stages.
Okay. No, I love that. It sounds like you can help a breadth of different businesses out there. So one thing that you said that stood out was ROI, and obviously that's in your name. I saw it, when it was on the website, Pomeroi. Uh, how did you guys come up with the name and kind of break that down for me? Because I love the fact that the ROI is in there as a marketing person myself.
Yeah, ROI is really important for us. It's been important for me throughout my career, even as a sales executive. When I worked at Hearst, I didn't want salespeople to go out there and just sell products, which that tend to be, a lot of companies out there that are selling just their own products or strategies. And we wanted to focus on, the business objectives and, the revenue that they're trying to get from their marketing strategies, from how many jobs you're looking to attract every week, every month, every year, how many clients you're trying to take on, what is the average client. And we look at it as an overall, like, here's the revenue that we're looking to generate on a month to month basis.
Mm,
We need to basically put you in a vehicle to help you to get to that revenue that makes sense, right? So if your revenue goals are $100,000 in additional revenue per month, 1,000 isn't going to do it, right? Even
right.
if you're looking to invest in stocks or invest into a new car or new shoes, right? You know that you have to spend to be able to get the value that you're looking for, right? So if you're putting out a strategy to drive $100,000 in revenue, it needs to make sense from even the ideation of putting out the number. What is that number? Like 10%, 15%, 20%.
Right.
Some people say I'll do even more than that, which is great. But when it's a reasonable investment, then we can actually put together a plan that are going to help us attack, the strategy and fulfill on the promises that we put together for the client, right?
Yes.
And then optimize as we go. Sometimes you don't need to continue to invest more. Sometimes that's a really good, budget that we have in place. And for some industries, you might not be as aggressive, right? When I mentioned manufacturing industries, they're kind of like behind in terms of technology and digital, right? A lot of
Right.
those businesses are built on word of mouth and repeat business for 30, 20, 30 years. Um, the competitive landscape isn't as competitive online. So that means you don't have to be as aggressive in paid budgets as you would for a solar company or a roofing contractor per se,
Right.
right? So that's why ROI was important for us to have. And I have to get credit. I have to give credit to my wife. Actually, she's the one that came up with the name. I just kept giving her terms and words and what the company, what I want the company to be about, and it's about peace of mind on return on investment.
Love it.
And that's what we really want to help businesses and CMOs and partners to think of us as that way. Like, we want them to know that we're not going to just recommend something just to sell it. If we don't strongly think that this is going to help move that needle, we don't want it to be a part of the plan,
Yeah.
right? If I have a great web team, like, and you don't need a new website, like, I don't want to pitch it to you. Do you know
I
what I mean?
I love that approach that you focus on the return on investment first. You focus
Right.
on that dollar amount first, and then reverse engineer it.
Figure out the plan.
How do we get
Yeah.
to that number? That's
Yeah.
so refreshing
Yeah.
to hear. So if you are listening out there and you want some peace of mind on their ROI, what are the next steps to start to talk to you?
We can be accessible on pomoroi.com. It's POMOROI.com. And we have a calendar on there where you can set up an appointment for a free consultation, or you can just send us out a quick form, and we'll reach back out to you. You know, Usually 30 minutes to 45 minutes is good enough for us to have a conversation and learn about your business and what your goals are. And we then go into work and build out a plan for you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, really appreciate you coming on the show, Ahmed. Again, every time we have a text conversation or email or phone call, always professional, always great.
Thank you
And
for having me.
absolutely, I'm so glad you were able to come on. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning into the Focus podcast. As always, if you need any help with a video production, any kind of a video project, we love to help over at 12 Media Group. My name is Mario Wilson with 12 Media Group, where we put your brand in focus.